Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing my February wrap-up and my March TBR. All links will be down below to my weekly wrap-ups / reviews of books that I have read throughout the month. February has been kind of a in-between month. It's always been that way for me, and I always feel like I struggle the most through February. It's just, February is a non-month to me. I don't like February. It's just too short. There's really nothing to it. And this in-between weather too always just messes with my mind. I hate it. And so it reflects in my reading because I just haven't been really in the mood for reading all that much. And I always struggle with, if you're not enjoying it, you really shouldn't force yourself to do it. So why am I trying to force myself to read? And so I've just been trying to remind myself that if I'm not in the mood for it, I shouldn't force myself to read. So a lot of times I just haven't been really reading, and I've been working on one book for most of the month, sadly. But as you know, with my wrap-ups, I first talk about the books that I read. I don't go into details, I just list them off. And, if I haven't gotten a chance to actually talk about a book, I will mention it and try to be as quick as possible about talking about it. And then I go and give you an update on my challenges, and then I share with you my stats for the month. And lastly, we talk about my TBR. So, let's first talk about what I've read. It's the books that I've read from the library. First was Welcome to the Monkey House by Kurt Vonnegut, which I gave 2 stars. Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, which I gave 1.5 stars. The Year of Magical Thinking by Joe Didion, which I gave 3 stars. And lastly, I read On the Bus with Rosa Parks by Rita Dove. This is a collection of poems, and I didn't get a chance to talk about this one. I really didn't connect with this, but I definitely don't think this was a bad collection. So I did end up giving it 3 stars. Next, I read 2 books off my own shelves that weren't part of my TBR. The first one was because I had been reading it from the library, and then I decided to buy it because I knew that I was enjoyed it enough to want it on my own shelves. And then I, of course, picked it up again. And that was Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi, which I gave 5 stars. And then the next thing that I chose to read was a short story collection. And so I wasn't bothered by the fact that it wasn't part of my TBR. I was reading it alongside my TBR. And that was Homesick for Another World by Atessa Moshfegh. And I DNF'd this, couldn't get into it, did not really like the writing or the stories, and I just couldn't understand what the freaking point of it. Was it really to say that all people are these horrible beings that just can't do anything right? Because seriously, I don't need to be reading that kind of thing. Now on to my TBR. As I said, I was really only working on one thing, and I actually finished that one book, which was The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. As you know, I had finished the second part in January, and so I was working on the third part, The Return of the King. And I really enjoyed the third part, but the book on the whole is not something that I loved. He goes on a little bit too much. He just doesn't seem to have much focus. He's always putting a whole lot of rambly bits in there, things that didn't really add or move the story forward at all. So I'm just meh about it, I guess. I only gave it 3 stars, but I can definitely understand why this is a beloved piece of work because it is wonderfully written. I mean, even though he tends to ramble and add things in that don't really feel like they add anything to the story on the whole, they were really beautiful. So I understand it, but it just wasn't for me, and I'm going to end up giving this away. I ended up DNFing 2 books from my TBR. The first, The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. I've always struggled with Gillian Flynn. I'm grateful that I got this for free because I would really beat myself up if I had bought this. It isn't worth the read. It's too short for anything. And I looked at the ending and I was like, seriously, that is what the end result is of all this. I just couldn't get into her writing, the story, the characters, anything. And that ending was a huge letdown. So overall, okay, I didn't make it a huge effort in really reading this. I knew from the beginning that I probably wasn't going to enjoy it. Gillian Flynn is definitely not an author for me. So, yay. I also DNF'd The Greater Journey Americans in Paris by David McCullough Now this has nothing to do with the book itself. I think people who are interested in this subject matter will definitely enjoy this. But for me, I just really wanted to get into depth with several of the people that he brings up. But of course, because he's talking about a lot of people, he can't really go that far into their lives and their experiences. So I know that I'm going to be ending up picking up books about those people specifically. Just this wasn't for me, and I knew that I wasn't really liking it when I read the first part because of that. But I did enjoy his writing style, and overall there were some very interesting things that he's talking about. It's just I need to be able to get into the characters more. I want to be able to kind of dive into who these people are, and I just didn't feel like I was getting that through this. So someone else will definitely get something out of this more than I could. I did get to two of the books, and I will share with you what those are when I do my TBR for March, because of course when I don't finish them I just move them onto my TBR, and I feel like it would be just better if I just share what those two are when we get to that point. But I am actually working on something, and I was wondering if I was going to finish this before the month ended, but I don't think I'm going to. I just haven't, as I've said before, been really into reading as much, and I am enjoying this book, but I've just been taking it really slow. Is A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. I love his writing style, and I've just been enjoying it so much, although Cat is annoying, I must say. I mean, like, what a big baby. But that being said, I'm enjoying it, and hopefully that enjoyment lasts. Now I'm going to share with you an update on my challenges. The first being the Read Harder Challenge. Now for this, I have decided that I'm not going to consciously work on this one, mainly because I've been feeling pressure with borrowing books from the library a lot, and because I've really just been feeling the drive to work on my TBR more than borrowing books from the library, I decided that I needed to not be working on this consciously. Now I have several books on this that I plan to use that are actually on my TBR, so I'm still going to be keeping track of the things that I am accomplishing throughout the month, but until the year is closer to the end and I'll see how I'm feeling about my TBR and all that, until that time I am not going to be focusing seriously on this particular challenge. With that being said, I did complete 4 tasks from the Read Harder Challenge this month. I completed 2 tests by using Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. The first task was to read a debut novel, and the second task was to read a book wherein all points of views were from people of color. The next task that I completed was to read a book set within 100 miles of your location, and I chose to read The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. The last task that I completed was to read a fantasy novel, which of course I chose The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien for. Now on to my short story challenge. I read 2 collections this month. I mentioned previously, even if I DNF it, I'm going to count it just because I knew going in that I was going to struggle with reading short stories. I don't enjoy them as much as other things, and I've never been able to find collections that I could enjoy. So if I at least give it a good try, I'm going to count it. The first, Homesick for Another World by Ottessa Moshfegh, and the second and last was Welcome to the Monkey House by Kurt Vonnegut. The last challenge that I have to talk about today is my poetry collections that I wanted to read. And this month I was only able to read On the Bus with Rosa Parks by Rita Dove, which is fine with me because I'm halfway through this challenge and I'm already working on the 4th one, so I know that I'm probably going to be done with this in maybe 1 to 2 months. The last update that we have to talk about is my reading stats for February. Last month I went and listed all the things, and I realized after I had published it that I didn't really have to do that because you saw the pie chart. So why did I decide to do that? I don't know. So I don't know if you really want the numbers listed off to you exactly. because of that. If you do, maybe tell me if you liked that fact that I actually did that, but I thought it was kind of silly at the time. That being said, let's start off with genres. This month I read more short stories and nonfiction than anything else. Moving on to ratings. The one thing that is on there that isn't marked is my DNFs. I don't know why it doesn't show it on the pie chart, but it just does it. I DNF'd more books than I would have liked. It's always a little bit disappointing when you DNF a book. I don't mind DNFing because it's not something I'm going to waste my time on if I'm not enjoying a book. I just feel like it's a little bit disappointing because I bought the book and then I don't even finish it. That just feels like I've wasted money that way. That's why I'm always determined to work as hard as possible to finish the book. There is a certain point where if I'm not enjoying it, I'm going to DNF it. But if I've actually bought the book, I'm going to be a little bit more determined to try to finish it. So I'm a little bit disappointed because out of the 3 books I DNF'd, only one of them was actually a book that I borrowed. So that being said, February is always rough, and clearly my ratings and my reading has definitely reflected that. Moving on to genders. Maybe I was wrong when I said that I read more male authors than female authors, because clearly I read more authors that are female than male. So I don't know. We'll continue to keep track and see what happens next. But I'm really okay with having read more female than male. I'm very disappointed with my stats for white and author of color, because again I read more books from white authors than I did from authors of color, and that's just disappointing to me. Lastly, library versus owned. I read more books from my own shelves than I did from the library. Barely. I only read one more than library, but I'm okay with that. As I said, from March onwards, I'm going to be reading less from the library because I want to focus on my TBR and trying to cut down on my own books that I haven't read yet. So that's going to be changing more as the year goes by, hopefully. So those were all my stats and updates. Now I'm going to talk about my TBR for the month of March. Of course, as I mentioned, I'm going to be continuing on working on A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. The next 2 books are books that I moved from my February TBR to my March TBR because I didn't get to them. The first is To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf and The Known World by Edward P. Jones. Now those 2 books I didn't really expect to get to in February, but I really didn't read that many books off my own TBR this month, which was really disappointing. That being said, I really hope that I read more of these books than I do anything else this month. Crossing my fingers. The next book for my TBR is The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared by Jonas Jonasson. Now, I really don't like super long titles. If your title ends up being a full-out sentence, that's a turn off for me. I just don't see the need for it. It should be short and sweet and to the point. But I saw this for 50 cents and I've heard a lot of good things about the book, so I just decided that I might as well give it a go. Hopefully the book is better than this long-winded title. I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier in the video, but I am going to be rereading a book a month, and so I'm going to be rereading Anne of Green Gables by Ella Montgomery. As you know, I absolutely love this series, and I always reread them at least once a year, and I tend to at the beginning of the year because this is just when I need happiness, comfort, optimism, just, pushed into me. And Anne is very optimistic and she sees things on the bright side, so I just need that. The last book that I'm going to be trying to read in March is Under the Dome by Stephen King. This is a massive book, and it's the very last book I'm going to be trying if I actually get this far in my TBR this month. Now, I already did sort of try this a year ago, and I wasn't getting into it. I just didn't really like it. But I feel like I didn't really give it that much of a good try to make me feel okay to get rid of it. So I'm going to try one more time, and if it doesn't work out this time, I'm definitely going to be giving it away. There you go, that's all I have for you today. I'd love to talk to you down below about any of the books that I talked about today. What books have you been reading this past month? Thank you all so much for watching, and keep smiling.